Yes, yes. Welcome to the ancient world of tabletop games. I am Agamemnon from the historical documentary Time Bandits. This is a report from a fugitive. In staring at my last video, featuring 100 boxes I bought in for the channel, I wondered how many of the games were Kickstarter projects I backed. Easy to count, exactly 9% of the purchases. How many of the games were researched online? All of them. 2 boxes were tins. I pray fervently to the gaming gods in Dice Valhalla and ask that I am never faced with another purchasing decision involving tinned games. Ragnarok. How many games were bought online beyond the 9% that could only be bought that way initially? Kickstarter games might never go to retail, after all. Of the remaining games, all of them were online purchases. Clickety-click. Why? Convenience. Special offers. It's just the way we do things now. With that in mind, and business carrying me to the city, I resolved to make the time for a detour to a game shop. Which one? The city boasted more than a dozen game shops under assorted subcategories. On my way to one, I didn't realize I was within 100 feet of another that I'd never heard of. Research for this video showed me how close I was to the place. I remember the game shops of yesteryear as though it were yesterday. It wasn't enough to head to the city and visit one shop. Gaming expeditions led to several dice-related watering holes. Just thinking that over made me focus on a particular detail. How long had it been since I'd stood in a game shop? I don't count supermarkets or mass-market retail outlets that happen to sell Monopoly by accident. An actual board game emporium. A shop for games, accessories, more dice than you could shake a stick at, and maybe even a stick for waving at more dice than you could imagine. Gamers can always imagine having more dice than they can imagine, and that is a board gaming fact. After performing the mystic calculations, I concluded that I hadn't been to a game shop in the better part of a decade, and we could round that up for convenience and call it 10 years. This raises an important question. As I stood in the same shop that I'd visited the last time, what had changed in 10 years? First, I considered the flashback. A decade ago, the shop was clean, well lit, and staffed by a knowledgeable warrior of the cash register, caught deep in conversation with a customer making a purchase as I entered. In the small handful of customers, there was one woman, 25% of the customer base in that snapshot. I wandered the shop and made no purchase. Other business carried me to the city that day, and I dropped into the game shop on the off chance that something might grab my attention. So much for that was then. What of this is now? I walked in. The shop was still there, and that counts for a lot in the game business after 9 years and 7 months. How to describe the place? It was clean, well lit, and staffed by a knowledgeable warrior of the cash register, caught deep in conversation with a customer making a purchase as I entered. In the small handful of customers, there was one woman, 25% of the customer base in that snapshot. I wandered the shop and made no purchase. Other business carried me to the city that day, and I dropped into the game shop on the off chance that something might grab my attention. Soon, I was the last customer standing. What was different? I recognized instantly the one thing that had changed in a decade. The prices. No, they hadn't dropped. I saw the latest games on shelves, multiple copies of games, large and small, mass-market games, intellectual property tie-ins, more specialized fare, and the obvious niche-within-niche market items. Anything on the shelves I could buy online. It's a shop that kept standing over 10 years of the consumer world's relentless drive to more and more online purchases. My visit ended the same way as the last time. No purchase. Why not? As with the earlier occasion, I went in on the off chance. When I dived into a game shop looking to make a purchase, I made the purchase. If the item wasn't in stock, I'd hit another game shop and buy there. So that hadn't changed for me. I'm likely to buy a thing I am after, not so likely to buy on the off chance if I happen to be passing. The method of researching a game is now automatically electronic. I do my browsing and rejecting of games online. There's no such thing as a game bought on the off chance online, it's all researched. Then I buy at a discount, during a sale or as part of a bundle. Running a YouTube channel has costs, and I want to keep those costs down. Buying games without running a YouTube channel also brings costs that you'll want to keep down. How does a shop compete with the internet? If you live in a big city, it's cheaper to walk to the shop and buy the game. Postage comes into it. But if you are far from the big city, you might as well buy online. There's no real way to compete with that. So your game shop has to play to the local crowd. There'll be discounts, loyalty schemes, and events bringing game designers to the shop for a promotion. And there'll be game nights. Discounts in store? Knowing the game shop I visited was still there after a decade, I played with Google Maps and its Street View feature. There were so many updates to this that I called up snapshots of the building over a period of more than a decade. Little changed. New signs went up in the windows from time to time, and once there was a banner running across the signs telling would-be customers of a sale now on, the discount we all go after. On the way there the other day, I missed a shop. I think back to standing on that street corner not knowing there was a game shop nearby. That place was a cafe that had games in it. If it's a game shop with a few vending machines and coffee on offer, it's a game shop. And if it's a cafe with a library of games to play while you eat, it's a board game cafe. I stood looking down the lane and wondered what was there. Turns out, a board game cafe. I stared at the side of the building, my X-ray vision bouncing off the wall. Would I have gone in if I'd known? I wasn't hungry, and that's the only thing that truly counts against a board game cafe. The talk in the board gaming world is the talk of supporting your local game shop. I stare at a map of Scotland and call up board game shops. You'll find mass market outlets pushing mass market games, but those chains aren't board game shops. There's no expertise on hand. Just walking into that shop again, I caught the dying embers of a conversation on game publishers that sounded knowledgeable. There isn't a local game shop I could support. My local game shop, for good or ill, is the internet. Clickety-click. Why? Convenience. Special offers. It's just the way we do things now. Saddening, dispiriting. After a long think, I concluded that I support physical game shops when I buy from them digitally. That's as close as I tread to a shopping experience. My business carried me away from the game shop, and now I ask my reflection a harsh question. Will I ever find myself in a game shop again? The answer to that is unknowable. Yet it prompts me to ask my reflection a different question. How many game shops have I been in? A few of those shops were borderline cases. The usual hybrid, an indie comic shop run out of a stall that stacked a selection of role-playing game books, say. If we ignore mass-market retail outlets that stock Monopoly, and we include those borderline sellers, the answer is no more than 20 at best. Almost all of them are city-based. Most of those are gone. There isn't a local game shop I could support, as there isn't a local game shop to support. Saddening, dispiriting. For the people who run businesses under rooftops you can physically visit, yes. Is there no alternative? Conventions. The shops come to you and set up their stalls. After my last disastrous visit to a convention, I gave up making disastrous visits to conventions. You head all the way there and nothing happens. One of those days better spent in reading a coffee and drinking a book. All that faffing around to take possession of a game I could simply have sent to my door. This has been a Scottish story. You'll have your own experience of accessibility to shops you might like to think of as local and helpful, informative, knowledgeable. Ultimately, they have to be profitable or fade like a ghost come the dawn.